if you want to hear the most exciting adventure we've had so far on this journey,
Sure.
it's when we got to track cheetahs in the wild up close. It was like watching nature unfold in front of my eyes. It was the most exciting moment we've had so far.
I know, it was amazing. But do you know what else is just as amazing right now? Do you see that cheetah sprinting across Helen?
Now that's what I'm talking about. Let's take a moment to appreciate this incredible sight, because these are the moments we've come here for.
Absolutely. Iowa FFA, please help us in welcoming from the Buckeye State of Ohio, the 2024-2025 National FFA Secretary, Luke Jennings.
Iowa FFA, how are we feeling? I love the energy. Now, if there's anything you should know about me, it's that I'm a big fan of dogs, and especially puppies. Anybody out here like puppies? I might be a little confused. You see, I thought they told me we were in Ames, Iowa, home to the Iowa State Cyclones, Hilton Magic, some of the rowdiest FFA members in the country. And when we think of a cute, cuddly, soft puppy that comes running to us anytime we hear it sees us, that's really all the more excited we get. Now, Iowa FFA, do we like puppies? Yeah, puppies. Now, I remember a couple years ago when my sister and I were way more excited than this, because our dog, Daisy, our mini Australian Shepherd, was preparing to give birth to her second litter of puppies. And let's just say there was an electricity in the air. And after months of anxiously waiting, the day finally comes, and out pop 3 little puppies. But you see, these puppies were not the same puppies that we just cheered for. Now, I know I'm in the state of Iowa, so we've all seen an ear of corn before. And if I had to describe these newborn puppies, it would be like if an ear of corn had fur and was really obnoxious. Because these puppies were squirmy, slimy, whiny, just little nuggets that just laid around all day with their eyes closed, waiting to be fed. And you know, that's what nobody talks about with puppies, is that for the first 2 to 3 weeks of their life, they just lie around all day, eyes closed, making this really high-pitched noise like, wah, 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 make it stop. And after about 20 of the most annoying days imaginable, we reached a big moment in these puppies gaining some independence. It was time for them to open their eyes. And so the day rolls around, and the first puppy opens both of his eyes. Okay, we're starting to get somewhere. A few days later, the next puppy opens one of his eyes. Okay, that can happen, that can happen. A few days later, still nothing. A few days after that, nothing new. And a few more days, yeah, I'm starting to think something's not right here. So sure enough, a quick trip to the vet's office later, we would learn that's it, folks. 3 puppies and 3 total eyeballs. The first with 2 eyes, the next with 1 eye, and the runt of the litter, Boyce, was born without any eyes. And collectively, we're probably all thinking, what are the odds of that? And my family thought the same exact thing. We had a lot of questions. Like, how would the puppies learn how to play fetch or not to run away? How would they learn how to maneuver, and how would they learn how to eat? Especially the runt of the litter, Boyce. How would his life be different from his brothers? How could Boyce be man's best friend? You know, when we think about it, isn't it kind of crazy that we expect a dog, something that drinks from the toilet and chases their tail, to be our best friends? Now, I know some of you just looked at your best friend with that description, all right? But with standards that low, surely we've got to be missing something when it comes to being a friend. If that's a dog's job, what don't we understand? Because when we really think about it, all that we're looking for in this life is a friend. From days on the playground at kindergarten to here at FFA events and beyond, we're all searching for someone to be our friend. But if that's a dog's purpose in this life, then there's something that we're not connecting. So what does it take to be a good friend? Well, who's a friend in our life? Maybe not best friend, but who's someone that we know we can count on? Start thinking about that. Now, before the session, the state officer team helped me out, and they put something under every single seat in this coliseum. So if we check under our seat, we should find a pretend piece of paper and an imaginary marker. Look, I'm sorry. All jokes aside, though, let's go ahead and pull out a pretend piece of paper right here and an imaginary marker, and let's write the name of that friend in our life. I think about my friend, Landon. And let's hold on to that later. Now, I want us all to take a second and look around Hilton Coliseum, all the way from the nosebleeds up there to down here on the floor and everywhere in between. Let's take a second and look around. I'm guessing next to us, we see a lot of familiar faces, but also probably a lot of strangers. So if we see somebody in this Coliseum that we don't know, can we get a uh-huh? Absolutely, strangers. And I remember a time in my life when I felt like the outsider of a group. It's a cold, early November morning. The sun's just beginning to rise as my family and I start a new adventure. Now, for some context, I've grown up around cattle my entire life. So hauling feed bags, filling up water tubs, even shoveling manure, it's pretty much second nature at this point. Truthfully, I can probably take care of animals better than I can myself. Anybody with me? Yeah, I see some hands out there. Now, as a sophomore in high school, I found myself in this new environment at a cattle show with my family. You see, my family and I bought a steer and a heifer from breeders we had never bought from before, and truthfully, didn't even know. Like, I didn't fully know their names. I knew there was Jake and sisters Megan and Sarah, but don't ask me which one is which. You know, and it would be okay if there's like a handful of people that we don't know, like that's bearable. But no, there was a group of 15 to 20 people who all knew each other, but we're the outsider in this situation. Nonetheless, we're all here together, freezing our butts off at this cattle show. And I wish I could just like sit around all day, wait to warm up, and like hope they don't come and talk to me, but that's not how this works. There is work to be done. So my sister and I walk into the pen, we put halters on the calves, we start walking them a few laps, getting everything stretched out. We fill up their feed pans, fill up some water buckets. Sun's getting a little higher in the sky, the air's warming up. Okay, we might survive this. Grab pitchforks and head into the pen. I scoop up my first pile of poop, and it hits me. I turn to my younger sister, hey, what do I do with it now? And as younger sisters typically do, I don't know. Did we bring a wheelbarrow? I don't know. The answer to that question was no. And so at this point, I'm like, what do I do with it? And now we might be sitting here thinking, Luke, if there's like 20 people here, surely somebody brought a wheelbarrow. Just go ask them. And you know what? Great minds must think alike, because I had that same thought. But that would mean talking to people, and that's terrifying. No, thank you. Okay, at this moment, it's kind of like when you get into a friend's car, and their mom's driving, and they say, oh, let me know if you need anything. And then a couple minutes later, you drive by a Casey's, and that breakfast pizza and fountain drink combo starts talking to you. And you're like, I really want to get one of those, but you're probably not going to ask their mom to stop, right? That would take too much courage. This is me in a very similar situation. So I decided my best option is to just toss the pile in the corner, and we'll deal with that later. And so scoop by scoop, y'all, this pile's getting pretty big, but I don't know what else to do with it. And out of the corner of my eye, I see one of these strangers, Jake, start heading our direction. And I am freaking out because he's gonna find out that we don't have a wheelbarrow. I was too chicken to ask for one, and honestly, like, moving poop around has to be the worst first impression ever, and so I'm absolutely panicking at this point. And as Jake turns the corner, he grabs a nearby wheelbarrow that we didn't see, pushes it into the bin, and says, "Your poop is our poop." And he just walks away. For starters, who even thinks about saying the phrase, "your poop is our poop," out loud, and then lets that intrusive thought out of the drafts and into the real world? Like, that is absolutely crazy to think about. It makes me think about hearing our friend's mom say, "Hey, let me know if you need anything." Sure, that is a very kind and genuine thing to say, but it's just words. And odds are, it'll only ever be words. But Jake doesn't just say, "Your poop is our poop." He pushes the wheelbarrow. He does something. Folks, a good friend doesn't just say, a good friend does. Let's look down at the friend we wrote on our hand. Why'd they come to mind? Is it because they're kind, funny, smart, caring, responsible? How do we know these things? Do they laugh with us? They hug and console us. They give us a pencil and don't ask for it back. They bring an extra snack for us after school. They give us a ride wherever we need to go. What do our good friends do for us? What have we done today to be a good friend? Did we hold the door for someone and say good morning? Did we offer up a stick of gum after lunch? Or maybe we're starting to realize that we've not done anything today to be a good friend. So how can we show up every day and do something for someone else to be a good friend? You know, one of my favorite places to hang out with my friends is at school lunch. Anybody a fan of school lunch? Yeah, there's like 6 people in this whole Coliseum that raised their hand. I don't blame you. School lunch is typically not very good. But I don't love school lunch for that reason. I remember this particular lunch period, and it was pretty special. You see, I had spent a month off of school recovering from surgery, and today is my first day back. And I am so excited for lunch period to get to meet my friends again and catch up on everything that I missed, and I am hyped. So I do what we do at school, stroll into the cafeteria, grab my greasy slice of pizza, grab my chocolate milk, type in my lunch code, 6373, stroll down towards my typical lunch table, and there's somebody sitting in my seat. When on this side, I hear one of my friends say, "Oh, we forgot to tell you." "Oh, you forgot to tell me that there's a new kid at school who's now part of our friend group, and I guess just replace me? Yeah, next time just slap me across the face, why don't you?" Because, I mean, I've gone to this same school for 13 years now. This is my friend group, my seat. I have earned this right? I mean, this is all I want to do, right? Enjoy my really bad lunch pizza, yap with my friends, just chill, relax, and I can't do that because there's somebody sitting in my seat, and I am mad. No, I am furious, y'all. I should really calm down. Can we all take a deep breath together? Thanks. That's much better. I finally calm down and give my friends a second to explain themselves. Now, do you remember during COVID when everything was just kind of Weird? Yeah, well, this was one of those moments because my school still did assigned seating at lunch. I learned a few things when I let my friends explain themselves. First, my seat was one of the few open in the entire cafeteria, so that's where this new guy chose to sit. Second, this new guy actually has a name, Enrique. Third, new guy Enrique only speaks Spanish. Actually, he's the only person in my entire school that doesn't speak English. As I turn, Enrique just kind of smiles and waves. Now, I took Spanish class for 3.5 years in high school, but I quickly learned that Duolingo was not gonna cut it, and it was gonna be pretty challenging to get to know Enrique. So, like any grown-up sticky iPad kid, I whip out the trusty Google Translate, and my friends and I realize this is an icebreaker on steroids. We can absolutely ask him anything we want. I mean, 2 truths and a lie, never have I ever, truth or dare, would you rather. I mean, the options are seemingly endless. So we settle on the best thing we know how to ask. Do you have a nickname? Well, we flip it around. Enrique grabs his phone, types for a few seconds, and hits speak. Yeah, my friends and family call me Ricky. Awesome, we're getting somewhere. The rest of this lunch period and the next for weeks to come were filled with similar scenes. Greasy pizza, lots and lots of Google Translate, and many more laughs and smiles as we learned about Ricky and shared about our own lives. We talked about anything and everything from school to sports to friends to family, and we learned a lot about Ricky. You see, Ricky used to live in Guatemala, where he was born and raised. He moved to the United States to live with his aunt for a few years before transferring into my high school. One of our lunchroom conversations got back on the topic of sports and what he enjoyed, and I started to think, maybe Ricky would want to join the tennis team with us. So the next day, lunch rolls around and the operation begins. Convince Ricky to join the tennis team. Backpack on my shoulders, I march straight to the lunch table. And thinking back, it should have been a major red flag that I had to explain what tennis was to Ricky, but nonetheless, he said yes. And so a few weeks later, the first practice of the season rolls around, and here's Ricky, standing on the tennis courts, smiling, because Ricky's never played tennis, and Ricky's also never even watched it. Great! Now, if we've never explained a brand new sport to someone whose language you don't really speak, guys, I challenge you to try to explain what chicken jockey means to your FFA advisor, and you might feel my pain. Because for the next week of tennis practice, Ricky and I worked our way through a lot of messy Spanglish, many attempted demonstrations, and lots of muy bien, Ricky. And I get to the point where I feel like I've completely failed him. I mean, I was the one to convince him to join the tennis team, and I can't even help him. Feeling really defeated on that Friday afternoon, I lean into one of the few phrases I know how to say in Spanish. Lo siento, Ricky. I'm sorry. But without any hesitation, Ricky whips out his phone, like the only way we knew how to communicate, types for a few seconds, and flips around a new translation. It's okay. We're doing the best we can. It's okay. We're doing the best we can. You know, Ricky was right. I wanted to learn the entire Spanish language just like that. But that's not reality. And based off of his efforts, I know Ricky really wanted to understand the game of tennis, but that wasn't going to happen overnight either. we were simply doing the best that we could. Ricky had something figured out that I'm gonna guess a lot of us still struggle with. Sure, a good friend does, but more importantly, a good friend does their best. Remember this friend we've been talking about? We said they were kind, funny, caring, smart, responsible, probably a lot of other things too. But I'm guessing that we never said they were perfect, did we? Yet they still show up for us and are there for us. When it comes to being a good friend for other people, are we truly doing our best? Is the fear of being imperfect, saying the wrong thing, or being judged by others getting in our way? What is holding us back from showing up every day and being a good friend that does their best? When is a moment in our life when we were looking for a friend, a stranger in a crowd? Maybe it's when nobody believed in us, like we didn't believe in our puppy boys, or when we found ourselves the outsider of a group, like I did at the cattle show, or maybe it was when we were so lost, like Ricky and I. Maybe it's right here at State Convention that we're looking for a good friend. But it can be hard to tell when somebody needs a friend, can't it? So how do we fill this world with a bunch of good friends? The secret? We've got to be a good friend first. Because for the last 6 years, my puppy, without any eyes, Boyce, has leaned on his natural instinct to be man's best friend and show love to me. Sure, it's not perfect, but he does his best. And ever since that freezing cold cattle show a couple years ago, I found a group of friends that I never knew I needed. Yeah, it was awkward, but Jake did his best. And every single day, Ricky and I exchange Snapchat selfies to keep our streak alive, but also for the subtle reminder for the power of friendship. We had no clue what to do, so we just did our best. Boyce, Jake, and Ricky prove that when we are a good friend to someone else, we also gain a good friend. Let's hold up our friends one final time, nice and proud. Hold these people up. How lucky are we to have this good friend in our life? How fortunate are we to learn the power of friendship from this person? But let's not forget to ask ourselves, whose hand should our name be written on? We have to stop making being a friend for other people more complicated than it is. So what are we waiting for? IOFFA, be a good friend that does their best.
FFA Association, we greatly appreciate you coming to the great state of Iowa and teaching us how to be a good friend and how those friendships last a lifetime. Please accept this conference gift as a token of our appreciation. Please give another round of applause to our National FFA Secretary, Lou.